Trump's controversial plan to relocate Gaza's population sent shockwaves across the Middle East. Egypt and Jordan were quick to reject the idea, with fierce opposition. But here's the twist. Jordan has now softened its stance, showing some willingness to cooperate. Meanwhile, Egypt is doing the exact opposite. Not only are they ramping up military presence on Israel's border, but they've just proposed their own solution for Gaza, one that could spell disaster for Israel's security.
We believe that with all the challenges that we have in the Middle East, that I finally see somebody that can take us across the finish line to bring stability, peace, and prosperity to all of us in the region. And it is, I think, our collective responsibility in the Middle East to continue to work with you, to support you, to achieve those lofty goals. So I'm very delighted to be here. And as you said, sir, we've got some very interesting discussions ahead.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much.
What's driving these bold moves? And how could this reshape the future of the Gaza Strip? Let's break it down. I'm Rockefeller Jr., and you're watching Daily Logos. It's becoming crystal clear. Egypt is absolutely determined not to take in Gazan refugees. A few weeks ago, Trump's plan aimed to relocate Gaza's 2 million residents to countries like Egypt, Jordan, and even Indonesia. But Egypt's latest counterproposal shows just how high the stakes are. Stay tuned as we unpack the escalating tensions and what they mean for the region. Now, if you're wondering just how serious this issue has become, even the US is being pressed for answers. During a recent press conference, Trump's secretary was directly questioned about this controversial plan and how it impacts not just Gaza, but Egypt and Israel as well. The response? Let's just say it raised even more questions. Take a listen.
Great to see you here today.
Thank you. On Gaza, the president has spent basically his entire public career criticizing foreign entanglements, nation building, sending American troops to fight abroad, particularly in the Middle East. This plan seems like it could ultimately involve all of those things. Can you explain this reversal and how building and owning Gaza squares with America First foreign policy?
I would reject the premise of your question that this forces the United States to be entangled in conflicts abroad. The president has not committed to putting boots on the ground in Gaza. He has also said that the United States is not going to pay for the rebuilding of Gaza. His administration is going to work with our partners in the region to reconstruct this region. And let me just take a step back here, because this is an out-of-the-box idea. That's who President Trump is. That's why the American people elected him. And his goal is lasting peace in the Middle East for all people in the region. And as I said in my opening remarks, we've had the same people pushing the same solutions to this problem for decades. And it's been made very clear to the president that the United States needs to be involved in this rebuilding effort to ensure stability in the region for all people. But that does not mean boots on the ground in Gaza. It does not mean American taxpayers will be funding this effort. It means Donald Trump, who is the best deal maker on the planet, is going to strike a deal with our partners in the region.
Because he did not rule out American troops in Gaza last night. Are you doing that now?
I am saying that the president has not committed to that just yet. He has not made that commitment, and you know that.
And on the foreign partners, the Jordanians, the Egyptians, the Saudis have already panned this plan. What foreign partners, if any, have expressed any interest in being part of it?
Well, the president has said he's been socialing this idea for quite some time. He's been thinking about this. He said in his remarks last night, this was not a decision or an announcement that he takes lightly. And the president has already spoken to the President al-Sisi. In fact, that was his first foreign leader call. He's meeting with the King of Jordan, King Abdullah, next week. He spoke with the King of Bahrain. He spoke with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And he has made it very clear, he's been very vocal, that he expects our partners in the region, particularly Egypt and Jordan, to accept Palestinian refugees temporarily so that we can rebuild their home. I'd like to show you some images of Gaza that were taken. Fox News aired this. I mean, that is, as they put it, in an apocalyptic scene in Gaza. This is an uninhabitable place for human beings. Do you really think that families can live their dream in a region that looks like this, with no running water, no electricity? And the special envoy to the president, Steve Witkoff, recently traveled to Gaza, Gaza, as you all know. And he came back with images that he showed the president of the dire situation here. And the president made this decision with a humanitarian heart for all people in the region. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline.
When Trump first introduced this plan, every country he mentioned for taking in refugees flat out refused. The King of Jordan was especially vocal, boldly rejecting the idea without hesitation. But then, after meeting with President Trump at the White House, things took an unexpected turn. His stance shifted almost overnight, and he even went as far as to say this.
We believe that with all the challenges that we have in the Middle East, that I finally see somebody that can take us across the finish line to bring stability, peace, and prosperity to all of us in the region. And it is, I think, our collective responsibility in the Middle East to continue to work with you, to support you, to achieve those lofty goals. So I'm very delighted to be here. And as we said, sir, we've got some very interesting discussions ahead.
Very good. Very good. Thank you.
Egypt, however, is firmly opposing the plan. They've been deploying a significant number of troops along Israel's border, which raises concerns, whether it's to prevent Gazan refugees from entering Egypt or potentially to attack Israel. It's unclear at this stage. Have you seen images of Egypt's border wall with Gaza? It's massive, even more so than Israel's, as they are incredibly resistant to Gazan refugees. In response, Egypt has unveiled a counter-proposal to Trump's plan. According to the Times of Israel, Egypt is working on a strategy to rebuild Gaza without displacing Palestinians, in direct opposition to US President Donald Trump's proposal, which suggests depopulating the area and having the US take control. Egypt's Adi state-run Al-Aram newspaper reported that the plan aims to create secure zones within Gaza for Palestinians to initially live in, while Egyptian and international construction firms rehabilitate the region's infrastructure. Sources say Egyptian officials have discussed this plan with European diplomats, as well as Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. But what about Israel? Do they think they can proceed without consulting Israel? I doubt this will work out well. An Egyptian official mentioned one way to fund the reconstruction: hosting an international conference for Gaza's rebuilding. They plan to raise funds at the event. Additionally, they aim to establish a Palestinian administration that's not affiliated with Hamas or the Palestinian Authority to oversee the reconstruction process. Good luck with that, considering the political complexities and factions involved. Also, they want to create a police force out of former Palestinian Authority officers. Yes, because their track record in Judea and Samaria has been stellar. Right? Egypt's Al-Aram newspaper reported that this proposal seeks to challenge American President Trump's strategy and to counter any efforts that would alter the Gaza Strip's geographic and demographic makeup. Again, I don't see this plan succeeding. Frankly, I don't see this happening, and honestly, let's hope it doesn't. Egypt cannot make this work without the cooperation of the US, and especially not without Israel's agreement. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio remarked on Thursday that, quote, "If the Arab countries have a better plan, then that's great. However, I don't believe Trump will accept this, especially since it directly counters his approach to Gaza. Ultimately, it's up to Israel to decide what happens here, as Trump made clear in his ultimatum to Hamas." Shifting gears, Israel is currently negotiating the second phase of the ceasefire deal. Khan News reported that Israel is preparing to receive the remains of 4 or 5 hostages on Thursday, who were killed while in captivity in Gaza, as part of the first phase of the agreement. Hamas is set to hand over the names of these deceased captives on Thursday morning. Israeli military ambulances will collect the bodies and transport them to the Abu Kabir Forensic Institute in Tel Aviv for identification before informing the families. Ynet News reported on Monday that Israel is demanding the release of 6 surviving hostages in the 7th phase of the release on Saturday. As part of the deal, Hamas has been releasing 3 hostages at a time, and Israel is pushing to have 6 more released this Saturday.